Hello everyone, and welcome to the first of our video tutorials on non-fatal offences against the person. Fatal offences against the person is a topic which encompasses a range of offences where a person is caused some harm, but the harm doesn't result in death, hence non-fatal. In today's video, we're going to be looking at assault and battery. To begin with, though, it's important to recognise that in this topic of non-fatal offences, there's a gradient scale of offences based on the level of harm caused to the victim and the level of intent demonstrated by the defendant. And that gradient scale is represented on this slide here, with the least serious assault at the top and the most serious wounding or causing GBH with intent, section 18, at the bottom. Each of these offences has their own actus reus and mens rea, as always, and they have their own charging guidelines as to the type of injuries that they encompass. You can see here in red there are some Acts of Parliament sections being referenced. Assault and battery are charged under section 39 of the Criminal Justice Act 1988. It's important to recognise that these offences are not defined in the Act, they're just charged under them. In order to find the definitions, we have to look at the case law. The other offences, you can see, come from a different Act of Parliament, and these are defined under OPA, which stands for the Offences Against the Person Act 1861. And straight away you can see this is an ancient Act of Parliament, and that's why a lot of the language here is quite old-fashioned, such as malicious, grievous, quite antiquated language. But the law hasn't changed, they are still as defined in this Act, so it's important that we learn those definitions. So there will be subsequent video tutorials where I will look at ABH, GBH 20 and GBH 18, but for today we're just going to focus on assault and battery. Looking at assault and battery, the first thing I want to draw your attention to is that there is a phrase that you've probably heard on the news, you might have heard police saying it, you might have seen it in films, the phrase common assault. Okay, that's a common phrase that we all use. But I want you to beware because it's a bit misleading. The phrase common assault just means either an assault or a battery has taken place. And both of these crimes are very different. But quite often on films and stuff, you'll see police saying, "I'm arresting you for common assault." And that means they're arresting them for one or the other. And often it'll be the CPS who decide, based on the evidence, are they going to prosecute them for an assault or are they going to prosecute them for a battery? Okay, so common assault means one or the other. And just to make that point clear to you, on this slide, we've got common assault at the top. And what I'm showing you is that common assault can either be an assault or it could be a battery. And the key difference between the two, which we're going to learn in this video, is that an assault on a very basic level is where there was fear caused to the victim, whereas a battery on a very basic level is where the victim was touched by the defendant, but they don't have any injury. Each of these crimes are different and they have their own actus reuses and mens reas, which we will look at today. But just to be clear, if you hear common assault, it means one or the other. But as a lawyer, you are expected to know which it is and to talk about the correct one. We're going to start then by having a look at assault. As always, we start by looking at the actus reus of the crime. So the actus reus of assault is an act which causes the victim to apprehend the infliction of immediate unlawful force. When you look closely at this definition of the actus reus, you can see that there's some sort of action which has caused the victim to fear that force is going to be used against them, but there's no contact. And I think that's something that's quite surprising to the general public. It might surprise you because in general language, if someone says I've been assaulted, we imagine them covered in bruises, they've been beaten up. But a technical criminal assault, there's no touching at all. We've just caused the victim to be fearful. So it might be useful here just to pause the video for a minute and just to think what sort of actions might cause the victim to fear that force is going to be used against them. Okay, so have you had a think? On my next slide here, I've just got some picture examples of the sorts of things you might have thought of. Okay, classic example of an assault would be someone pointing a gun or threatening someone with a knife. In those situations, that gesture is going to cause the victim to apprehend that force is going to be used against them. You might have thought of a threatening note, or maybe a scary phone call where someone's breathing heavily down the phone and trying to intimidate the victim. It could be waving a fist, so some sort of threatening gesture that suggests you're about to punch them. You can see here just by facial expressions, that could be an act which causes the victim to fear force is going to be used against them. Squaring up to someone always makes me chuckle when I see this. Sterling biting off more than he can chew here, I think. So you might remember that incident. Footballers often squaring up to each other, trying to intimidate one another. It might be words. So something like, I'm going to kill you. That can be an act which causes the victim to fear that force is going to be used against them. Of course, we want to have cases to back us up. So there's a few key cases here that show some of those actions that have been held to amount to an assault. So in the case of Ireland, they said that silent phone calls can be an assault. Remember that these cases don't mean it's always going to be. They're just indicating that it could be because it was in this case. So silent phone calls threatening the victim, trying to intimidate them, can be an assault. Constanza says that letters can be an assault. Now, this is a very important case. It was letters in this instance, but we can apply this same ratio to any written word. So it could be a text message, it might be an email, it could be a WhatsApp message. You could jot it down on a post-it note and pass it to the person sat next to you in class. Any sort of written word saying that you're going to attack somebody could potentially be an assault. Logged in case example, pointing a gun at someone can be an assault. I should point out here, it's imperative for assault that the victim is scared. So as long as the person thinks that the gun is loaded and they're genuinely scared, that can be an assault. If, however, they know it's a toy gun, so they're not scared, then it's not an assault, but we have to have fear. Just skip back to a previous slide for a second, the actus reus one, just to point something out to you. So we've looked at the sort of actions which can amount to an assault. The actus reus also says that the act has to cause the victim to apprehend that force is going to be used immediately. So the courts have had to consider what that means. And we're going to look at the case on that, which is Smith and Woking. And in this case, the defendant got into a garden and looked through the victim's bedroom window. And importantly, the bedroom window was on the ground floor, so it must have been a bungalow. And it was late at night, about 11 o'clock. The victim saw him at her window and was terrified. And he was arrested and being prosecuted for an assault. His argument is, well, it can't be an assault because I couldn't get her immediately because there's a pane of glass here. But the court said that immediate in the actus reus doesn't mean instantaneous, but imminent. So an assault can be through a closed window. Importantly, though, I think if her bedroom had been on the first floor and she was glancing down into the garden and he was in her front garden, that might not have been an assault because the threat wasn't imminent in that situation. Here, he could quite quickly grab a stone, smash the window, grab her. But it might be a different situation if she's up on the first floor. So the threat has to be able to be carried out imminently. Something else which is key to look out for with assaults is sometimes the defendant will use words that indicate that they're not going to use violence. And if that's the case, then there won't be an assault. And this comes from the ancient case of Tuberville and Savage. And here the defendant placed a hand on his sword and said, "If it were not assize time, I would not take such language from you." And what he was saying was, assize time was when the courts were in town at that time. He was saying, if the courts weren't in town, I wouldn't have that. But because they're here, I'm not going to stab you. So because the words indicated there'd be no violence, it wasn't an assault. So words can negate, that means take away, what would otherwise be an assault. So a more modern example might be, I'd punch you if Lucy wasn't looking. What you're really saying there is, I want to punch you, but I'm not going to. The mens rea of assault is intention or recklessness as to whether the victim apprehends the infliction of immediate unlawful force. A lot of the time your defendant will be intending to scare the victim. That's the whole point. If you're pointing a gun at someone, you are trying to intimidate them. But it could be through recklessness, so you're just taking a risk that they might be scared. So it might be that you're towering over them, not consciously trying to intimidate them, but you could be being reckless as to whether they fear. So that's assault then. You need to memorise your actus reus and your mens rea, and obviously your cases that go with it. Let's move on and have a look at battery then. The actus reus of battery is much shorter, and it's the application of unlawful force. And force can be the slightest touch. So again, you might want to pause here and just try and think of some examples. Okay, on this slide, I've got some examples of the sorts of things you might have come up with. So a battery is where there is a slight touch, but importantly, there's no injury. If there's an injury, it's going to be ABH or GBH. So for a battery, there's no injury. And again, that's probably quite misleading to the public, because if you say you've been battered, most people would be expecting bumps and bruises. But a battery is just slight contact. Some examples here, Jamie Carragher, charmer that he is. This was a famous incident where he spat at someone from his car window. If the little bit of spit lands on the victim's cheek, that can be a battery. Lovely one here, Nigel Farage had milkshake thrown at him. If you throw milkshake on someone, although you are not touching them directly, you have caused that milkshake to be unlawfully applied, so that would be a battery. It can also include things like unwanted kisses, tapping someone on the shoulder, potentially. More indirect, put a tripwire so that they fall over. You have caused force to be used against them. And another famous one here, Fellaini, I think it was, pulling this guy's hair. Collins and Wilcock is the case that told us that force can be the slightest touch. So here, just touching the victim's arm was sufficient to be a battery. In Thomas, it was held that touching a person's clothes while they're wearing them can be a battery. You might have seen that happening. My kids do it quite a lot. They trip each other up by pulling on each other's hoodies and stuff. That can all be batteries. Batteries can also be committed through an omission. And this is from the case of DPP and Santana Bermudez. I won't say it like Chris does. And this was where force was applied to a policewoman because this guy failed to warn her that there was a needle in his pocket. So it can be through an omission. DPP in K tells us that a battery can be through an indirect act. So this kid put some acid in a hand dryer. He was just trying to hide it so he could sneak it out of school later. And unfortunately, it smashed in the hand dryer, and when someone used it, burnt their hands. Now, although he hadn't thrown that acid on the boy, he had caused it indirectly to be applied to him, and that can still be a battery. And that would be the case with tripwires and things like that as well. Just be aware that Wilson and Pringle tells us that there's implied consent to the ordinary jostlings of everyday life. So some normal day-to-day contact in a bustling place is to be expected, and that won't be a battery. We'll have a look at that when we look at the defence of consent in a bit more detail. The mens rea of battery is the same as with assault. It's intention to apply the force or recklessness as to whether force is applied.